Our first toy is a whirligig. Whirligigs were often made of wood and string. You'd have a middle disc, string, and you'd hang onto the ends. While holding one end steady, you would wind up the cord or the string to tighten it. Then when you're ready, you pull, loosen, pull, and loosen, causing the middle disc to spin. These were sometimes called buzz saws because of the sound they made and because of the way they appear. Today, we're going to make one of our own. To make your own whirligig at home, you're going to need something to color with, a pair of scissors, a ruler, string, and a whirligig template. We have one that is already cut out and includes the 2 holes that we're going to need to string through. If you don't have one of these, that's all right. You can make one on your own. The brighter the color, the easier it's going to be able to see as you're spinning. Take a sturdy bit of cardboard or poster board and create your own compass. To do that, tie string to a pencil, hold a bit of the string next to the poster, and trace out a circle. You might have to move your hand, and you might not make a perfect circle the first time around, but you can do it again. So there, I have a circle. You might want to mark where you're going to punch the holes for your string, so you have an idea where those should go. It is important that they are close together, just like you see in our template, because that is going to allow your whirligig to spin back and forth more easily as you use it. So we have one already colored. I've got this side, which is bright bold colors, and this side, which I've done in a circle pattern. You're going to see the difference that makes when we spin it. But first, we do need to get the string on it. Our instructions say that we need 4 feet of string. So I'm going to take my ruler, which is 12 inches or 1 foot, hold my string at the top, and I'm going to wrap it. So I have 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. So I'm going to cut right here. And I have the 4 feet that I need. Now I'm going to thread it through my whirligig, threading it through the front, pulling it through, and then threading it through the back side. There we go. So it should look like this. Now I do need to tie the ends together. To do that, I'm going to hold both ends together like this, and I'm going to make a loop just like you would when you are first tying your shoes, that very first step. If you want to make it really sturdy, you'll do that one more time and you have a knot. All right, it's ready to use. So I'm going to hold either end. I'm going to make sure that the whirligig is in the middle. I'm going to hold one end steady while spinning the other. This is going to wrap up your string and make it nice and tight. All right, I think we're ready. We're going to pull. There we go. I don't know if you can hear it, but it does sound a little bit like a buzzsaw or maybe a tornado. So the side that has all those colors black together, you can see looks a little bit purple as those colors have mixed together. But the side where I made it in circles doesn't mix together. All right, and that's our whirligig. I hope you've had fun. To make your yarn doll, you are going to need yarn, any color that you like, a pair of scissors, a piece of heavy duty cardboard or poster board that is 4 inches wide, 6 inches long. You will also need several pieces of shortcut yarn. We're going to use that to tie parts of your yarn doll together. It's also helpful to have the instructions to how to make a hot yarn doll in front of you. First thing you need to do is to wrap the yarn around your board about 50 times. And the reason for that is so that your doll has plenty of body. Now I already have one pre-wrapped. The next thing I need to do, now that's been wrapped 50 times, is to tie it all together. So I'm going to take one of my pieces of string and push it through the bottom here. There we go. And tie it at the top. I'm going to tie this tightly at the top. There we go. So now all of my pieces of yarn are tied together. The next thing I'm going to do is cut the yarn on the bottom. This will not only free it from the board, but also make it easy for us to tie the doll together. There we go. Now, the next thing you're going to do is to make the head of the doll. So you can kind of pull this down a little bit, and I'm gonna go like this and pinch it and get an idea of where I'd want the neck of the doll to be. I think this looks about right. So this is where I'm going to tie another piece of string. And here again, you might want to tie it kind of tight. That way it's a defined neck. So far, this is how it looks. So the next thing that your yarn doll needs is arms. To make arms, I'm going to divide this into 4 equal parts so that it's fairly even. Okay, so right here you can see this is where you might have the arms. So I'm going to take another piece of yarn and I'm going to decide where I think it should have wrists. And I think her wrists, or his wrists, should be right about here. Now in this spot, you might decide that you want your yarn doll to have bows at the wrists. So you can tie a bow instead of just a knot. And that is up to you. So she's got a bow, or he has a bow right here. On this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Perhaps you don't want a bow, and again, that's okay. You don't need to put a bow there. So maybe this side, I'll just tie a knot. Good and tight. There we go. So now your yarn doll looks like that. Next, we're going to make the waist of the doll. And I think it should go maybe right about here. So I'm going to take another piece of yarn and tie it right here. Again, you may decide that you want just a knot, or maybe you want a bow. And I think right here, I am going to make a bow. Next, you have to decide, is this it? Is it wearing a dress? Or do you want your doll to have pants and legs? Let's go ahead and give this doll legs. So again, I'm dividing these 2 parts in half. I'm going to tie a piece of yarn around the ankles. Good and tight. And one more. All right, our yarn doll is almost done. but there are a lot of scraggly bits here. So we're gonna go ahead and give your doll a trim. I'm going to start first just with the feet. I'm gonna cut off all my extra bits and I'm going to make this even. So just a little trim, it's like a little haircut. If you made a bow, just make sure that you're not cutting the bow as well. All right, now you might decide, hey, I kind of like this top. I could hang my doll, right? It could be like a little ornament. But in my case, I think I'm going to trim that as well. All right, your doll is done. Or maybe you want to add to it. Perhaps you want to add a face. You can use a lot of these scrap bits that you just cut off. Some of them are just the right size for something like eyes and a smile. And maybe you also want to make hair for your doll. So we have eyes and a smile. We can use some of these extra pieces and you can tack on a little bit of hair as well. All right, there she is, she's all done. If you would like, you can make a whole bunch of these. It doesn't take very long. You can even make some with your friends and you can play together. Hope you enjoyed. Early miners used a pulley system called a windlass to enter into the mine and to pull the ore out of the mine. Today, we're going to make a similar pulley using a shoebox, or you could use a tissue box or even a pop box. You will need a cup to use as your bucket, string, and you may need tape to secure the sides of your box. And if you wanted to decorate it, you'll need markers, paper, glue, scissors, or whatever you like to decorate with. You will also need a dowel or straws. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to cut out a hole to see through. So I'll take a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife and cut out a rectangle. Now I do have one already made right here. It doesn't matter if it's very large or very small, and it can be any shape that you like. The next thing we need to do is to create holes in either side of the box for the straws or dowel to fit through. For that, again, I'm going to use my scissors. You could also use, if you prefer, a sharpened pencil. So I'm going to use my scissors to poke a hole through the side. And again, if you wanted to decorate, this is a good time to do that before you put the lid back onto the box. Next, we need to create the pulley itself. So first I need to attach the straws. Now, one straw is a bit too short for my box. So I am going to take two straws and make them into one larger one. To do that, I will pinch the end of my straw into a point, and I will insert it into the other straw and push them together. So now I have one larger straw. Then I need to insert it into the box in one hole and out the other. So it looks like this. Next, I'm going to take a bit of twine or string, and you don't need a whole lot of it, and you don't have to measure it, but something that's about 2 feet long is just fine. And I need to thread it through my cup. So I also need to puncture holes through my cup. And for that, again, you could use scissors or a pencil. So through one side and through the other. And I'm going to thread my string through. And just tie it at the top. So this again is the bucket that I am going to hoist. Next, this is going to be attached to my straw. So for that, I need to make a nice tight knot around my straw. And it needs to be tight so that when I'm working this, it doesn't slide around the straw. All right, let's see if it works before I put the lid back on. So now I'm going to put the lid back on. And just add some tape so that it doesn't fall apart. And there you are, you have a cutaway into the mine shaft where you can see the pulley working. I hope you had fun. The cup and ball was a very popular toy long ago, and it's still a popular toy today. You can see these on Heritage Day. You can also find these in our gift shop. Today, you're gonna make one of your own. To make your own cup and ball, you will need a cup, preferably a paper cup as it's easiest to work with, string, scissors, a ruler, tape, a pencil. One that has been sharpened will be easiest to work with as you will use it to punch through the paper cup. And you're going to need something to use as a ball. In our case, we're using a thread spool because it has a lot of nice weight to it and it's easy to tie on to the string. You could use something else as long as it has some weight and can be tied on. For example, you might use a peanut. First thing you need to do is to measure out about 18 inches of string. So a ruler is 12 inches. And halfway down is another 6 inches, so we will have 18 inches. Then tie your ball onto the string, and you will need to tie this nice and tight so that when you're playing, it doesn't fly off. All right, next, you'll need to punch a hole into the bottom of your cup. To do this, I'm going to use my sharpened pencil. Then you're going to feed the string through the cup. You can use your pencil to help push it through if it's getting caught. All right, now I need to tie a knot so that it doesn't come through the bottom again. So you'll need to tie a very big knot. To do that, you can keep looping several times. And then when you pull it, you'll have a large knot. If you think that's still too small, that it might fly through the bottom of the cup, go ahead and add a few more knots. Okay, I think I'm good here. Next, you need to attach your pencil. So you're going to poke this through the bottom of the cup about 1/2 inch down. And poke it through the other side. And it's just about ready. But you do want to attach some tape to the pencil and the cup so that when you're playing, it doesn't slide around. You can attach some to the top and attach some to the bottom. And to the top again and to the bottom. And you're ready to play. Long ago, dolls were often handmade with various materials found around the home. One of those materials was corn husks. Today, we're going to make one of your own. To make your own corn husk doll, you will need corn husks that have been soaked in warm water for 5 to 15 minutes. That's so that they are softened and easily pliable. You will need twine, scissors, and something that you can decorate your doll with. In our case, we are using some markers. You will also want a towel laid down or an absorbent surface so that you don't get water everywhere from your corn husk doll. First, you will gather 4 pieces of corn husk. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's okay if they're a different size. If you wanted them to be all the same length, you could trim them. We're not going to do that right now. But we are going to make sure that the thinner ends are all together and that they are joined up. Then we're going to tie these with twine. You do want to make sure that this is a nice tight knot so that it doesn't come loose. Next, you're going to hold this end and pull this down, much like you're peeling a banana. This is the first step in making the head for your doll. All right, and you can see if I pinch a little bit right here, we have formed a head. If you don't like the way that looks for the face, you can always sort of mold it a little bit to give you a smoother face or surface. And again, tie a bit of twine. And here too, you want a fairly tight knot. If you think that's too small, you can lower it a little bit, giving her or him a bigger face. It's okay to have these loose bits that are a bit longer. We can clip those down a little bit later. Next, we're going to make the arms. So you'll need 1 more husk. Because one end is thinner than the other, we're going to actually tear this in half. And then we're going to match up the thinner end of one piece to the thicker end of the other, like so, and we're going to roll it together. Kind of rolling it like a worm. So you'll end up with one even bunch so that both ends are the same thickness. Now we need to make the wrists. So taking another piece of twine, going to tie one end, and again, you want this fairly tight. If you wanted, you could make this into a bow, which I think I will do. Or you can just make one nice knot. But I like a bow. It's a tricky bow. All right, and there are my 2 arms. Now I need to attach it to my doll. So I'm going to flip this over, and I have a total of 4 husks. So I can put half on this side, half on this side. This is her face. So I know that that's the direction I need to put my bows for my arms. And just fold it in there nice and tight. So now she has arms. The next thing I need to do to make sure, of course, that my arms don't slide out and to give her a little bit more definition is tie a string around her waist. That'll give her a body and a waist as well. If I wanted, I could be done. She has a head, a body, a waist, and arms. But I don't want her arms sticking out like a scarecrow. So I'm going to pull her arms together and tie them right about at the wrists. So it looks like she has her hands folded together. This does not have to be a tight knot because it's not going to be permanent. This is just so that as she dries, her arms are folded together, so that when she's completely dry, I can untie this and her hands will be at her waist. Now, perhaps I don't want this to be wearing a dress. Maybe I do want this to have pants or legs. The next thing I can do is kind of tear a little bit to separate that skirt into two pieces. And now I will tie at the ankles. And I think at the ankles, I will just tie a knot. And this will be permanent. Good and tight. All right. Now, my doll doesn't have anything else on it. Perhaps I want to make a tunic for it, which is something that would be worn crisscross over the body. I can use more of my wet husk. I can tear it into pieces and put it over the top, kind of like a shawl on one side. Then I do the same on the other side. So I've wrapped it around my doll like an X. All right, while it's still wet, I'm going to trim off some of the extra pieces. So I think that her hands are a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim that. I think her feet are a little bit too long as well, so I will trim those. And I'm going to trim any of the extra bits of twine. All right, now all I have to do is wait for it to dry. Once it's dried, we can decorate it a little bit more with things like markers, or if you wanted to glue more twine on for hair, we can do that as well. So we'll set this one aside to dry, and we'll take a look at one of these, which is already dry. Now this one you can see we did not tie the hands down, so they are sticking out. So we did add a little bandana on it, so it looks like a ninja, and it is wearing that tunic. And this again is dry, so we can add something to it like a face. And I'm just using my washable markers. You could use really anything you like. You could tie string on it. You could put yarn on it. You could color the tunic, but there, now we have a happy ninja. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Tia, and we have Mike Kahn here today at the Platteville Mining and Rollo Jameson Museums, and he's going to show us some balloon art.
I've been a balloon artist since the early 1980s, and I'm also a professional clown, Twinkle the Clown, and I think making balloons is about the best fun you can have. And you can learn to do this at home too. I've been doing this for 20 or 40 years or so. I'm going to show you how to make a few balloons today. I'm going to do a basic balloon twist first of all. You blow it, you always let a little bit of air out and you leave a little space at the end depending upon what animal you're going to get. And if you let a little air out, that's called burping it. So if I tell you to burp the balloon, this is the only time you're allowed to burp in public, and it's officially accepted, except in COVID times. Okay, I take it and I tie it. Now I always start with this end. I always start with the tied end. And I always make every twist away from me. I make it in the same direction. And that way, I can keep as many bubbles as I want in the line without them going away. So first I'm going to twist away 3 or 4 times. I'm going to make a second bubble. And then I'm going to make a third bubble. Second and third bubbles are about the same size. And then I fold it back and I perform a lock twist. And what the lock twist does, that allows these bubbles to stay together. Now to make a dog, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make 1 bubble, 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles. And the second and third bubble are about the same size because you want your legs to be the same size. And I fold that back and I make another lock twist. So now what I have, you can see the dog's nose, you can see his ears, his neck, and his teeth. Now Tia, what do you think I'm going to do next?
Make his back 2 legs?
Yes, 3 bubbles. 1 bubble to make the body, 1 back leg, a second back leg, and then I make the lock twist. Fold it back and twist it, and there you have your dog. That's the first dog of the day. Now, just to show you that you can play around with this and they're not going to break easily, I'm going to take this end, turn it 180 degrees, take this end, turn it 180 degrees, and now you have an anteater. All I want to show you is that these don't break very easily as long as you burp them appropriately. Start as small as that. And again, if you're following directions, you make 1 bubble, 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles. We fold them and we lock twist. And I want to make, for a mouse, I want to make all my animals, all my balloons the same size, all my bubbles. 1, 2, 3. Fold them back. Make them the same size. Whoops. 1 bubble, 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles. And there you have a little mouse. There, yes, and that looks similar to that one. How long do I leave on the end? I leave enough so that as many twists as I make, it doesn't blow the tail off. So if I know I'm going to make a bunch of twists, then I leave a little more at the end. Okay, this is going to be a giraffe. With a giraffe, I make 1. Now giraffes have little bubbles on their ears, so I'm going to make a little bubble. So instead of doing just 3 to begin with, I'm making 5 bubbles. And now you can see the giraffe's head, and it's off a little bit, but it's got little bubbles up there. Very good. 1 bubble, 2 bubble, 3 bubble, lock twist. You got it. I'll make a long body for a giraffe. Then I'm going to make some bigger front legs. A little body. And all Tia's doing is the 1 bubble, 2 bubble, 3 bubble, lock twist. 1 bubble, 2 bubble, 3 bubble, lock twist. 1 bubble, 2 bubble, 3 bubble, lock twist. And that's pretty much what I just did, except now I have a giraffe. Now we're going to make one that's a real big hit all the time. Take the balloon. I did not burp this very much. I'm going to tie it together. Tie these together. Here's a bug for you.
A bug?
Now I'm going to take that bug. I'm going to put it on a stick right here.
Looks like a
Just for a
flower.
moment. This is the hardest part of the routine. It's called sucking up a bubble.
What?
Yes, it's called sucking up a bubble. It's also called a dingleberry in some states. I just call it a bubble. Put that there.
Aww,
And there you present a flower to someone.
so cute.
Another favorite thing for me to make is hats. From 4 or 5 different kinds I can make. The first one we're going to make is a crown for you. Okay, yes, for you. And somebody told me it's called what do you call braiding.
Yeah.
I don't know how to braid, but if you just take these and wrap these back and forth like this.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Now what you have to do is you have to take the person that you're working with and turn them around and you get about the right size. You don't want it too big, you don't want it too small. Yeah. How's that?
Perfect.
Perfect. Oh, wonderful. Clowning is a very, very old, when you talk about professions, it's been around a long time. Kings used to have their clowns, they called them jesters. So I'm going to make a jester hat just as a period piece here. We have to get this the right size. May I?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit big. Just the right size. Okay. Let's go with this. A lot of times when you're doing this, you have 5 or 10 or 15 people standing in line, and usually nobody complains. Because they know if they wait a few more minutes, they're going to get a blue.
Something, yeah.
Okay, this is the jester hat. These latex balloons are pretty durable, so you
Oh
can,
wow. Yeah.
you can bend them, they're not going to break. As soon as I say this, one of them will break. The hardest part is to get the dingle ball on the end. Okay?
Didn't see that part.
No, that's what the 4th year in college.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The parents were very proud. Okay.
Oh wow.
And there you have it. They also call this the weather band's balloon because usually when you put that on and you start walking around, people say, cool, cool. And I think they're talking about the weather. Maybe they're talking about it's you. It's you. In this area, what goes over big is a football helmet I make for kids. This will be the last half. And this goes over well because it could even be for the orange and blue and white of the Chicago Bears, or it could be for the green and gold of the Packers. I try to make more green and gold. And it's very simple. All I did was folded them. Whoops. Pull that blue one back. I folded them. And this is just a lock twist together. Locking them together. And could you take your hat off for a moment, please?
I guess.
Okay, thank you. And could you take your glasses off, please?
Yeah, for this one, alright.
And now I just put them down like this. And then when Coach says, Tia, time for you to go in, turn it around like this. And we throw that down. And we go. And there you have another hat for you. And I don't make swords very lightly, but we're kind of running out of pirates these days. Stick your finger up inside there. Yes, okay. And then with the other hand, you're going to pinch that finger, and you're going to get the little eye piece. Yes. Get it good. Now, twist that around, holding that piece in there. Yeah.
Mine's small.
That's all right. Swords of all different kinds and qualities are made. Okay, good. Now there's your tulip twist. And you can also use it just to make a tulip if you want to get a different variety. We have a flower here somewhere. Then you make it one bubble. Okay. Now, for a sword, and for cats, and for several animals, we do, instead of just doing bubbles, we do loops. So you have to hold that. Okay. Now, with this part, make a loop about this big. A little small. Maybe a little small. Yeah. Okay. And then we twist it. We lock twist it. Okay. Let it go. And now we're going to make another loop the same size. Bring it back to this juncture right here. Yes. Make a little loop here. Bring it back to that same juncture. Yes.
Okay.
And then we lock twist it again. Okay, then we straighten it out. Okay, good. We take that. Pirates didn't carry their swords around all the time. They had belts. So then I had to reach for the sky. Put a belt on. Anyway, you're not using your sword, you can just stick it in there. And I always tell them to be careful, don't cut your leg off. Because I hate it when kids cut their legs off with my sword.
It really puts a bummer on the day.
It really, yeah. No. Quick down. Okay, a little head. Let's get yours to about this big. One here. Hold it down like that. Lock twister. Can you see? Okay. Now we're going to have to get their legs out of here.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to make the rabbits, what legs are going to be small? Let's make a little mat too. We got to have a little mat. We're going to take two small front legs. Our front legs are going to be about that big. Okay? Lock them backs together. And make them smaller, but that's okay. We'll go with that, and then we'll see how dimensions sometimes matter. Holding that, lock them together. Yeah, good job. We want a little body, and we have to get two long legs. So I'm gonna do the little tail, back leg, and a small body. It looks kind of weird, but it's supposed to look weird.
Oh yeah, that's longer, okay.
Sometimes at the end of the day, they all look like dogs. That's it. If you are interested in learning more about how to make balloons, you can get balloons and blowers at Walmart. They're in the section where the crafts are. You can go to the Platteville Public Library and check out this book. It's called Balloon Magic by Marvin Hardy. It's a hoot. This is about as much fun as you can have.
All of us here at the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museums stand with our community during this difficult time. Thanks for all who have expressed interest in the museum and supported us, even during the spring closure time. I'm delighted to share that the museums are bouncing back and we have lots of news to share. We are pleased to announce, first of all, that after a delayed spring opening, the museums have reopened on July 1st for all. We offer now self-guided museum tours and train rides for our visitors. Also, We're pleased to announce the rollout of a whole new website, www.mining.jameson.museum, and check it out because it hosts now a slew of all new virtual events and programs to enable unprecedented access and broad community participation, even while we maintain social distance and shelter in place. Some of the new programs include a brand new Google virtual tour that allows you to navigate fully through all the museum's interior spaces, the outdoor yard spaces, and even underground, all through the Bevins Mine and through the Hoist House. This is a free virtual tour. We invite you to check it out online. Also, very delighted to announce some recent grant awards. Awards by the National Endowment for the Humanities. That's a $37,000 grant for 2020. Wisconsin Humanities Council, the Platteville Community Fund, and the AARP Wisconsin, totaling nearly $60,000, are going to help to ensure that our museum educators can continue promoting lifelong learning opportunities in Platteville and throughout our region all year long. Our museum is actively creating programs that use history, culture, and community discussion to strengthen community life for everyone in our city, in our region, and in Wisconsin. Happy Virtual Heritage Day from the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museums.
Ride so swift, the frame won't lift, the gates won't close, and the railings froze. So get your mind on a point in time, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Ooh, riding me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Hold on, we gonna fly down in the easy jet. I don't care how many letters they send. Morning came, morning went. So back up your money and pick up your rent, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Ooh, you're riding me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Hold on, we gonna fly down in the easy jet. Buy me a flute and a gun that'll shoot. Bullets, there's no substitute. You better pack yourself to a tree with roots, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Ooh, you're riding me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Hold on, we gonna fly down in the easy jet. Genghis Khan could not keep all his kings alive as sheep. We'll climb that hill, no matter how steep, when we get to it. Ooh, you're riding me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Hold on, we gonna fly down in the easy jet. There you go, man. Riding me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. gonna fly down in the easy chair. We're in this room where the Russell manufacturers made bull collars. So this song comes to play here.
This is A minor.
Bull cowman. A one, a two, a one, I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande. My legs ain't bow, my cheeks ain't tan. I'm a cowboy who never saw a cow. I never rode in stair cause I don't know how. And I sure ain't fixing to start up now. Yippee-i-oh-ki-yay, yippee-i-oh-ki-yay. I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and I've come to town just to hear the band. I know every song that the cowboys know about the big corral where the dogs go, and I learned them all on my radio. Yippee-i-oh-ki-yay, yippee-i-oh-ki-yay. I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and I learned to ride before I learned to stand. I'm a cowboy who is up to date. I know every trail in the Mountain State, 'cause I ride the range in my Chevy V8. Yippee-i-oh-ki-yay, yippee-i-oh-ki-yay. I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and I've come to town to hear the one-go band. I know every song Colonel one will know about the big corral where the dogs go, and I learned them all on his stereo. Yippee-i-oh-ki-yay, yippee-i-oh-ki-yay, yippee-i-oh-ki-yay. Yeehaw!
Goodbye, Joe. We gotta go. Me on my own. We got horse for the road and about. My Yvonne, sweet as one. Me on my own. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the ride. Get jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. Oh, tonight I'm gonna see my Michelle Amigo. Big guitar, fill fruit jar, and the gale. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the ride. The Thibodeaux, the Fontaneaux, the place is buzzing. People come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dress in style, go home wild. gonna go my own. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the fire. Get jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. Oh, tonight I'm gonna see my Michelle Rio. Picky Charfield, Joy and Miguel. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the fire. Settle down, pop room down, give me a B-roll. I'm gonna catch all the fish out in the bayou. What my mom's a babe on what you need of. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Get jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. Oh, tonight I'm gonna see my Michelle Rio. Picky Charfield, Fruit Jar and Miguel. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Get jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. Oh, tonight I'm gonna see my Michelle Rio. Picky Charfield, Fruit Jar and Miguel. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Hey!